What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Andre Ward. Andre Ward hits out at Eddie Hearn over Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. comments. Hearn responds. Andre Ward and Eddie Hearn exchanged words on social media on Monday night after the British promoter's latest remarks regarding the Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones exhibition. The 51-year-old Jones, of course, will be taking on the 54-year-old Mike Tyson September 12th, now moved to the 28th of November, right? Okay, in California. Hearn said in a recent interview that the exhibition would be an absolute disaster if it were waved off because one of the participants attempted a knockout. An article based on the quotes from this interview was then put up with the headline, Hearn warns that Tyson Jones could be an absolute disaster. Wow. Okay, upon seeing this, Andre Ward tweeted, "With all due respect, Mr. Hearn," gotta love him, "who seems to have a lot to say about everyone else's business. He should manage his own affairs across the pond and let everyone else do the same. His opinion is not the absolute voice on what's good for boxing. Carry on." Wow. Then Hearn replied, Andre, old chap, I have to ask you, I got asked my opinion. Okay. Might be worth reading the article over the headline. If a commissioner called it off, that would be a disaster. It's called clickbait. Wow. Okay. I think clickbait titles can get people reared up, because you look at Andre Ward, former fighter, commentator, right? Good at what he does both times, 2 times, right? One career transitioning to another career. I'm very proud of him. Undefeated pound-for-pound fighter. You know, took on the boogeyman when the boogeyman was really the boogeyman. Andre S.O.G. Ward. Got to give credit to him. Respectable guy, God-fearing guy. Understand he is a commentator for ESPN. Okay. Eddie Hearn is Matchroom and a British promoter, and he's over here with the zone with certain fighters over here also. Okay. That alone, we already have the division. We already have the divide between Ward and Hearn, and also between fighter or former fighter and promoter. Okay, so a person that used to fight will, of course, obviously be offended by something they think someone else said. Like, he looked at that title. Okay, so if you look at the title of what Eddie Hearn said, right? He said it would be a complete disaster, right? Now, I don't know if Andre Ward read the whole thing, but based off of just the title, it would come off kind of like Eddie Hearn was trying to say that, oh, it would be bad for boxing if that was going to happen, right? But then here's the headline. Hearn warns that Tyson Jones could be an absolute disaster. See, hearing that by himself, you're not going into detail of why he said what he said. Why would he say that it would be a disaster? It's just showing that you could read that title and think anything and assume anything, right? You would think, okay, it'd be a disaster. What you trying to say? It won't sell? You're trying to say it won't be marketable or profitable or this or that, you know, as far as people wanting to watch it. And then that's coming from someone from across the pond that has nothing to do with that particular promotion. Yeah. You know, Andre Ward would see that and say, like, hey, go fuck off. He probably ain't going to ever say that, but you know. Andre Ward probably seeing that, man, fuck that dude. Let me tell him, with all due respect, Eddie Hearn, stay across the pond. Worry about your own affairs. You know, you get to licking his lips and shit. You know. You know. Handle your own business first. You know, and him being a fighter, he could be that way because these are icons in the sport. And then hearing a present promoter that's pretty hot right now say something like that, it would come off hating. It would. So I get why these guys went back and forth. Now, I understand Hearn because Hearn didn't only just say that, because that sounds like a dickhead hate comment, and it is clickbait. So the headline is definitely clickbait, and the headline assumes that Eddie Hearn said something that's negative or coming off like he's a hater. So I get that. Okay. So, but what he said, he was also asked that. It wasn't like Eddie Hearn said, hey, this is what I think about it. No, he was asked that. You know, so that's what he replied about. So if someone asks you something, you can't just say, well, no, I don't want to speak on the behalf. It might offend someone else. But if someone else didn't really even read the, again, I don't know if Andre Ward did actually read it. You know, it's how he took it. And a lot of times you may say something, and I've learned this years ago. It's not what you say, it's how someone else takes it. I know that from Wilder, a lot of so-called Wilder fans, because I'm a Wilder supporter. A lot of people don't understand that. I buy this man's fights. But if you say something in regards to the man that someone that is a fanatic, that fanatic fanatic, right? That's what fan comes from, fanatic. Well, they might look at what I said and think I'm a hater, just like they thought Eddie Hearn was a hater, if they didn't read or listen to the whole thing in its entirety. Okay, so I do get what both people are saying. But of course, these guys have had, you know, a couple run-ins, you know, not a go at each other or something like that. Not how Andre Ward was pissed off at that one cat on the LDBC. It wasn't nothing like that. You know, it wasn't like, hey, when I see you, we're going to have words face to face. No, because if that would have been the case, we would have heard something else from Andre Ward, you know. So it was kind of like Eddie said it in a way to pretty much settle the dispute, so to speak. So he did that, and I guess that explanation was enough for Andre Ward to squash the whole thing, you know, until we hear anything more, you know. But other than that, you know, I guess that's when Andre Ward then read the rest of it, and he's like, oh, okay, I see what you mean, because, you know, you have two guys. It is a dangerous sport based on the previous career these guys had. They are two people that you would not want to see them hurt just for the sake of fucking an exhibition or our amusement, because they're fortunate. Both men are fortunate to be where they are because there's a lot of fighters that are not in the same condition as them. Okay? They are very, very truly blessed, you know, to say the least. Okay? There's people that don't know where they are. It's people that can't talk right, people that can't walk right. The people that are not walking at all, are not talking at all. People that are dead, going into the ring. People that are blind. Okay? So it's a lot of things that could happen to you, that could have happened to Mike Tyson or Roy Jones Jr., because they have suffered losses and defeats and punishment. I get it, you know, and I get Andre Ward and I get Eddie Hearn. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think, who's at fault or who's to blame, or your take on this Andre Ward versus Eddie Hearn debacle. Please let me know what you think. Please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.